Meanwhile, in a rebel base, during the midwinter supply run, you're falling asleep to the rhythm of brewing spiced cider. Welcome to another slow, detailed story from a galaxy far, far away. Tonight, Maya Kess's long December week running provisions through Echo Base 7, a cold morning routine of frost forming on cargo bay doors, distant hum of shield generators, and warm steam rising from industrial kettles. Days where the work is repetitive, physical, and simple. Hauling crates from your ship, measuring spices with practiced hands, stirring massive pots of warming cider, and watching tired rebels smile at the smell of cinnamon and cloves. Nothing dramatic, just the steady, predictable rhythm of bringing small comfort to a hidden outpost in the middle of a long war. So take a breath, let your shoulders fall, and allow the gentle routine of Echo Base to support you, however that looks for you tonight. It's 04:30 hours, base time. Your freighter touches down on the frozen landing pad with a hydraulic hiss that echoes across the ice fields. The sound is familiar and comforting after 3 days of travel. Standard landing on a standard delivery route you've flown many times now. The hull settles with small creaks and adjustments, metal contracting, systems equalizing, the sounds of arrival that mean you're here. Safe, on schedule. The exterior temperature readout shows -18 degrees Celsius. Cold, certainly, but you've landed here in winter before, many times over the past 6 months. Your thermal coat and insulated boots handle it perfectly well. You know exactly what to expect. The walk from ship to hangar, the transition from cold to warm, the routine that never varies. The cold is just part of the pattern now, something you prepare for with the right gear and handle without concern or worry. The base's shield generators hum steadily in the distance, that deep bass sound that means everything is functioning normally. The environmental systems keeping the interior spaces comfortably warm, the power flowing without interruption. You've been making this run for 6 months now. The procedures are familiar. The timing is predictable. The face is recognizable. Even the ice on the landing pad forms in the same patterns each visit. Crystalline fractals spreading from the same drainage points. There's comfort in that repetition, in knowing exactly what comes next. In the absence of surprises, your shoulders fall a little. You've been travelling for 3 days. The journey is long but uneventful, exactly as planned, exactly as you prefer. The initial hyperspace jump from the core systems took 16 hours, long enough to catch up on sleep in shifts, to perform routine maintenance, to prepare meals and clean your living space. The route is one you've used before, reliable, tested, memorized down to the specific star patterns at emergence points. The kind of transit that lets you relax into familiar rhythms. The outer rim territories are behind you now, far behind, hours of empty space away. Imperial patrols operate in those regions, certainly. The galaxy is what it is, but they follow predictable patterns after you've studied them for months. The routes and timing that work, the quiet corridors between zones where attention concentrates, the empty spaces where independent freighters move without notice or concern. Your route today threaded through one of those reliable corridors, far from where Imperial resources focus. Just another successful, unremarkable transit. The kind you prefer, the kind that lets you arrive on schedule without incident or complication. The final approach used the coded frequency, standard security protocol that you've performed dozens of times now. The process is routine, comfortable in its familiarity. Transmit the code, wait for confirmation. Receive approach clearance with the designated vector. Follow the flight path exactly, everything proceeding exactly as it should. Smooth, professional, predictable, the way good operations should feel. Your ship, the Wandering Gull, is an old YT-1300 light freighter, the same basic model as the famous Millennium Falcon, though yours serves a different purpose, different modifications, different history. Your ship is built for steady, reliable work, dependable engines that run for years without major failures, adequate cargo capacity for most standard contracts, comfortable living quarters that feel like home after years of occupation, a layout you know so well you could navigate it in complete darkness with confidence. Every switch and control exactly where your hand expects it. Every compartment's contents memorized. The familiar creaks and sounds that mean everything is normal. The ship has its own character, developed over years of service, its own personality expressed through small quirks and preferences. Currently, it smells like the spices you're carrying, cinnamon and cloves, creating a pleasant warmth in the recycled air. A welcome change from previous cargoes. The ship remembers its work through smell, through the aromatic layers that accumulate over time. A history written in scent that never quite fades completely. You've stopped trying to eliminate these lingering aromas. They're part of the ship's identity now, part of the story it tells, part of your work as a trader who hauls whatever needs hauling across the galaxy's quieter routes. Through the cockpit viewport, you can see the rebel base built into the natural cave system. The main hangar bay glows with work lights, warm yellow illumination spilling out into the pre-dawn darkness. Small figures move around spacecraft inside, maintenance crews working their shifts, X-wing fighters with their distinctive split wings, A-wing interceptors sleek and minimal, Y-wing bombers sturdy and reliable. Each craft has its dedicated crew, mechanics and technicians who know every system. The work continues steadily around the clock, ships being serviced, repaired, prepared for whatever comes next. You power down the engines, everything secures itself. The ship settles into rest. You pull on your heavy insulated coat before opening the ship to the exterior atmosphere, the familiar weight settling over your shoulders like an old friend. Thermal lined throughout with quality insulation, still perfectly functional after 2 years of regular use. The coat has pockets everywhere. Inside breast pockets deep enough for data pads, outside hand pockets with secure closures, hidden compartments in the lining for valuables. Today those pockets hold practical items needed for work. Your identification data pad with current credentials. Your multi-tool worn smooth from constant use. A small flask for later personal use during quiet evening hours. The boarding ramp lowers with its characteristic mechanical whine. A sound that probably needs maintenance attention eventually, but isn't quite bad enough yet to justify the expense and time. Cold air flows in immediately through the widening opening. Your breath becomes visible in small clouds. The temperature drops noticeably, but you're prepared. The coat does its job well. Your thermal underlayers trap body heat. Your insulated boots protect your feet. The cold is just cold. Nothing you haven't experienced many times before. Nothing concerning with proper clothing and reasonable caution. Outside, the landing pad is duracrete covered with a thin layer of ice. You know to watch your footing. The ice forms predictably in the same patterns. You've walked this same surface on previous visits. The key is simply moving carefully, testing each step before committing full weight, using the aggressive tread on your boots, maintaining balance. The walk from ship to hangar takes 3 minutes at a measured pace, long enough to feel the cold penetrating even through good insulation, short enough that proper gear keeps you comfortable enough. No real danger, just temporary discomfort that ends when you reach the hangar's warmth. A figure approaches from the hangar entrance 50 meters away. You recognize the gate before you can make out facial features in the dim pre-dawn light. The distinctive walk that indicates someone who knows ice. Tam Borlin, cargo coordinator, human male, approximately 40 years old, with the weathered look of someone from the outer rim. You've been delivering supplies here for 6 months now. Tam always meets incoming cargo ships, every single arrival, whether it's early morning or late night. He takes his work seriously, his dedication visible in his consistency. Kes, he says, as he approaches within speaking distance. His voice is steady, professional. His breath creates small clouds in the cold air. "You're early, made good time." "Excellent time in hyperspace," you reply. Your own voice sounds slightly flat in the cold, thin air. Navigation computer. Found an optimal route. Shaved almost 3 hours off the usual transit time. Got the full shipment intact. No problems during transport. No damage. All of it? Everything on the list Marin sent? Everything on the official requisition, plus a few extras I thought might improve the recipe. Some vanilla beans from a contact on Arcanis station. Extra orange peel from a supplier. Better quality cinnamon than specified because I have a source. He nods approvingly. His eyes show clear satisfaction above his thermal scarf. Already moving toward your ship with the brisk efficiency of someone who wastes no time in cold exposure. There's work to complete, cargo to verify, people waiting inside where it's warm. Social niceties can happen inside where the air doesn't hurt exposed skin. You follow him back up the boarding ramp into the cargo bay. Your boots ring on the metal surface with each step. The sound echoes in the enclosed space. The temperature difference between outside and inside is immediately noticeable, even though your cargo bay isn't heated beyond ambient leakage from the rest of the ship. Not warm exactly, by any comfortable standard. Probably still near freezing, but no longer actively hostile. The difference between -18 and maybe 5 degrees. 13 degrees, that feels psychologically significant, even though it's still quite cold. The human body adjusts quickly to relative temperatures rather than absolute measurements. Tam begins examining the crates without delay, checking manifest numbers stamped on each container against entries on his data pad. His gloved fingers moving quickly despite the cold affecting dexterity. This is standard procedure across all Rebel installations you've visited. The Rebellion operates on limited resources, but it's not careless about incoming supplies. Every shipment receives thorough verification. Every manifest gets checked carefully. Too many documented cases of problems. Infiltration attempts, sabotaged supplies, tracking devices. The paranoia is entirely justified by experience. It keeps people alive and bases secure. Spices are in crates 10 through 19, you tell him helpfully, pointing to the relevant section. Juice concentrates in 20 through 39. Brewing equipment in 40 through 44. Sugars in 1 through 5. He continues his systematic verification with practiced efficiency. After several minutes of thorough checking, he nods. Looks correct, matches manifest perfectly, counts accurate, security seals intact, no signs of tampering, let's move it. The unloading work begins immediately. Each crate weighs between 15 and 30 kilograms, depending on contents. Manageable weight for one person with proper lifting technique. Considerably easier with 2 people working cooperatively. You and Tam establish an efficient rhythm without needing to discuss it. You've done this exact process before, during previous deliveries. The physical work creates its own natural logic and flow that experienced people fall into automatically. You unseal crates using the manual releases, breaking security seals with satisfying clicks that indicate tampering will be obvious. Sliding them across the cargo bay floor to the ramp opening where Tam waits with the repulsor sled. He maneuvers them carefully onto the anti-gravity platform. The repulsor field makes the substantial weight nearly negligible for transport purposes, technology making physical labour manageable. The sled can handle tons of material without strain. The unloading continues, each crate moved, steady progress. Crate 27 feels heavier than expected. The bottles inside have shifted slightly during transport. The weight distribution is off. Tam notices immediately. Careful with that one. Glass can shift and change the balance point. You adjust your grip accordingly. Take the weight more evenly distributed across your hands and arms. The crate settles onto the sled with a solid thump, a good sound that means secure placement. Then 28, 29, 30. The numbers climb steadily, one after another in predictable sequence, each one bringing you closer to completion. Your arms develop that pleasant ache from sustained work. Not pain, just the sensation of muscles doing what they're designed to do, working at capacity without strain or injury risk. Honest physical tiredness that feels good in a way that mental exhaustion never does. The kind of tired that leads to deep sleep and genuine rest rather than restless anxiety. By crate 35, you've removed your coat despite the ambient cold still present. The work generates enough metabolic heat that insulation has become uncomfortable, making you sweat underneath, which will become a problem later when you stop moving and the sweat cools. But for now, the movement and exertion generate warmth that effectively counteracts the cold environment. Tam has done the same thing. His breath still clouds heavily, but his movements remain efficient, economical, no wasted motion. This is his primary job and responsibility. He does this hundreds of times with hundreds of different ships. Practice making perfect. Crate 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. The final unit of your complete cargo shipment. Your cargo bay stands completely empty, now except for your personal gear, stowed securely in a wall locker. The sled is fully loaded, stacked carefully with attention to weight distribution. Secured thoroughly with multiple cargo straps to prevent shifting during transport through the base's corridors. Tam works methodically through his checklist, checking each connection point and strap tension with careful attention. Professional, thorough, taking no shortcuts that might create problems later. When he's satisfied, he looks up. I'll get these to commissary storage immediately. You should check in with Marin. She's been asking about your arrival. You seal your cargo bay securely and activate security systems with the usual sequence. The Wandering Gull will be secure here on the landing pad. Echo Base maintains good perimeter security despite operating with limited resources. Plus, there's not much worth stealing aboard currently anyway. Just empty crates and lingering spice aromas and your modest personal belongings. You pull your coat back on carefully, seal all the closures against cold intrusion. Begin walking toward the main base entrance, visible as a lit opening in the rock face ahead, glowing with warm light that looks inviting from this distance. The walk requires approximately 3 minutes at normal pace across the ice-covered surface, long enough that the penetrating cold finds its way through even good insulation, short enough that exposure doesn't constitute any real risk for healthy individuals with proper clothing. The hangar bay, when you reach it and step through the entrance, feels almost warm by comparison. It's objectively not warm by any reasonable standard. The temperature reared out mounted on the wall shows 15 degrees Celsius, but after experiencing minus 18 outside, 15 feels comfortable, almost tropical. Your body's perception adjusts dramatically to relative temperatures. The hangar maintains steady activity despite the early hour. Rebels work in coordinated teams around various spacecraft, mechanics with specialized tools working on complex engines, technicians with diagnostic equipment checking computer systems, astromech droids beeping their binary observations, each team focused on their specific tasks without interference. The work continues without pause. The smell is familiar. Fuel with its distinctive sharp chemical scent. Hydraulic fluid with its oily character. Ozone from welding operations. Industrial lubricants. The particular combination that means active spacecraft maintenance. A smell that exists in every hangar across the galaxy, regardless of political affiliation. You walk through carefully, staying clear of active work zones. Some rebels nod acknowledgement as you pass. Recognizing you from previous visits, most remain too absorbed in their work to notice another bundled figure transiting the space. You're not famous here, not a hero whose name appears in reports. Just another contractor who brings supplies on schedule. That's fine. You prefer it that way. Suppliers just complete their work efficiently and come back next month. The corridor leading deeper into the base is carved from natural rock. the original cave system that existed for millions of years before rebels arrived and repurposed it. It's reinforced with Durasteel support beams welded into place at stress points. The walls curve slightly in organic flowing patterns, following the cave's original structure created by water erosion over incomprehensible geological time. Lighting panels embedded in the ceiling at 3-meter intervals create pools of illumination separated by areas of dimmer transition. The floor consists of rough-poured duracrete in sections that don't quite align perfectly. Construction that happened in multiple phases over time as resources became available. Temperature rises gradually as you move deeper into the installation, away from exterior openings where cold air constantly intrudes. The base's environmental systems function more effectively deeper in the protective rock. The insulation works better. The heating can keep up with demand. By the time you reach the first interior security checkpoint, full sensation has returned to your fingers and toes. That uncomfortable pins and needles feeling as circulation restores after being restricted by cold. The guard on duty is a young Sullaston female. She checks your identification badge against her access list and waves you through with a professional nod. No wasted words, no unnecessary conversation, just verification and approval. The commissary section occupies space 3 full levels down from hangar level. Deeper into the moon's interior, where temperature stability is better, it's connected by a combination of natural cave passages and deliberately cut corridors. You take the stairs rather than waiting for the lift, which tends to be slow. The stairwell echoes with boot sounds on metal treads. Someone above you ascending with heavy footsteps, someone below descending more quickly. The base operates on overlapping schedules. There's always movement somewhere. At commissary level, corridors branch in multiple directions, the layout determined by natural cave structure rather than rational architectural planning. You know the route from previous deliveries, the path memorized through repetition. Left at the first junction, straight through the next intersection, right at the marked junction, through a wider passage where ceiling height opens dramatically, then into the commissary complex through double doors that squeak and need maintenance. The main galley is large and rectangular, with industrial cooking equipment lining 2 walls. The equipment is mismatched. Different manufacturers, different ages, obviously salvaged and adapted, but everything functions, everything serves its purpose. The kitchen staff is already preparing breakfast service, moving with practiced efficiency through their routines. The smell is simple and good. Protein-enriched porridge cooking in large pots, spiced grain, basic food that keeps people fed and functional. Not exciting, not particularly flavourful, but adequate, nutritious, consistent. Marin occupies her small office adjacent to the main galley. Through the open doorway, you can see her at her desk, surrounded by datapads and manifests and supply requisitions. She's human, approximately 50 years old, with grey hair cut short for practicality. When she notices you, her face shifts into something almost like a smile. As close as Marin gets to expressing warmth. "Kess," she says without preamble, rising from her chair. "Good timing. Tam just confirmed you're here with the full shipment. Everything on your list, you confirm, plus some additional items that might enhance the recipe. Vanilla beans, extra orange peel, better quality cinnamon." She picks up a data pad, scanning the manifest you transmitted. "Vanilla beans, those aren't cheap. I had a contact on Arcani station who owed me a favour. Figured they'd work well in the cider. Add depth to the flavour profile. Something special." "They absolutely will." She sets the data pad down, studies you with her sharp analytical gaze. "Are you planning to handle the brewing yourself, or do you want our kitchen staff to take over?" This question is why you continue accepting contracts here. Most installations would just accept delivered supplies and handle preparation through their own personnel. Marin understands that sometimes the person who sources specialised supplies is also best qualified to use them properly. She respects expertise even from civilians and contractors. That's my plan if you're agreeable, you confirm. If you can provide space and basic equipment, I know the recipe inside out. My family made this for 3 generations. I can teach your staff the techniques while I'm here. We'll make space easily. The morale boost will justify any inconvenience. Plus, it's almost midwinter festival. People need something to mark the occasion. Something beyond basic rations and duty schedules. Midwinter festival. The generic designation the rebellion uses for year-end celebrations, carefully avoiding any specific cultural or religious associations. Almost every world maintains some form of seasonal celebration. Different names, different traditions, different meanings, but the same basic human need to mark time's passage, to create moments of light during dark seasons. The rebellion includes beings from hundreds of different worlds and cultures, so they compromise with inclusive neutrality. Midwinter festival. Generic enough to include everyone. Specific enough to feel intentional rather than merely bureaucratic. When do you want to begin distribution? Marin asks, her voice returning to her usual, efficient tone. Always focused on logistics and timing and operational planning. You consider the timing carefully. Factor in setup requirements, heating times, the breakfast service schedule. Give me approximately 2 hours to establish workspace and prepare initial batches. Should have hot cider ready for breakfast service around 07:30. That gives people something warm to accompany their morning meal. That works perfectly with the schedule. She makes a notation on her datapad. I'll distribute notification through the base communication system. People will be grateful for this. You're providing something they didn't even know they wanted until they smell it. You spend the next 90 minutes in focused preparation. The commissary staff provides assistance when their regular duties allow, helping move equipment, answering questions about available resources, offering suggestions based on their knowledge of the kitchen's capabilities and limitations. You commandeer one of the large industrial burners positioned along the back wall, clear space around it for safe working area. Set up your workspace with attention to efficient flow, everything within reach, everything organized logically. The layout matters for consistent results. 2 massive pots emerge from storage. Each can hold approximately 20 litres of liquid. These aren't your specialised brewing kettles yet. Those will come later from your cargo once you've proven the concept works and demand justifies the investment. But these standard kitchen pots will function adequately for initial batches, large enough for volume production, sturdy enough to handle sustained heating. Clean and well maintained despite obvious age. The crates arrive on Tam's repulsor sled, right on schedule. He positions them exactly where you indicate, close to your workspace, but not in the way. Accessible, but not cluttering the limited floor space. You thank him with a nod. He departs without fanfare, already moving to his next task in the endless cycle of base logistics. You open the spice crates first. The aromatic impact is immediate and overwhelming in the best possible way. Cinnamon with its warm sweet scent that triggers memories faster than sight or sound ever could. Cloves with their sharp penetrating aroma that clears sinuses and demands attention. Star anise with its distinctive licorice notes that add complexity and depth. Cardamom with its subtle eucalyptus character. Dried orange peel with its bright citrus promise. Each scent distinct and powerful. Each one triggering specific memories and associations. The combined aromatic assault takes you back instantly. Your family's tavern on Chandrila. The large commercial kitchen during festival preparations each winter. The annual rush of activity as regular customers returned for their traditional orders. Your mother directing multiple cooking operations simultaneously. Your father managing the front room service. Your siblings helping with whatever tasks match their ages and abilities. The warmth, the laughter, the sense of purpose and tradition, and family working together towards shared goals. The recipe you'll use today is your mother's, 3 generations old, according to family stories, passed down from your grandmother, who learned it from her mother. Simple ingredients combined with patience and attention. Traditional methods that work because they've been tested and refined over decades. Effective results that create satisfaction and comfort without complexity or pretension. Apple juice concentrate provides the base, thick syrupy liquid that smells sweet and slightly fermented. Water for dilution to proper strength and volume. Sugar for sweetness that balances the spice's intensity. Whole cinnamon sticks that release flavour gradually during heating. Whole cloves used sparingly because they're powerful. Star anise that adds depth without overwhelming. Dried orange peel for brightness and complexity. And now vanilla beans, split and scraped, adding their luxurious character to the traditional formula. You fill the first large pot with water from the base's supply system. 15 litres measured precisely using the graduated marks on the pot's interior. Precision matters in recipes even when they seem simple and forgiving. The water tastes slightly metallic when you test it with a sip, slightly flat, mineral content from whatever source feeds this base's systems. The spices will help mask that character, transform it into something more appealing. One of the many small miracles that cooking accomplishes. You add the juice concentrate carefully. 4 bottles containing approximately 3 litres total of thick concentrated apple juice. The water turns golden brown immediately when the concentrate disperses. The colour of autumn leaves, the colour of harvest time, the colour of warmth and comfort and home. Even before heating, even before spices, the colour alone suggests comfort. Sugar goes in next. Brown sugar for this initial batch. 2 full kilograms. A substantial amount, but necessary for proper sweetness when diluted across 20 litres. It dissolves slowly in the cold water. You stir steadily with a long-handled ladle. The sugar creates swirls and patterns as it disperses. Pockets of sweetness gradually evening out into uniform distribution. The stirring motion is meditative, repetitive, soothing. Your arm finds a rhythm that requires no thought, just continuous circular motion. Now comes the critical part, the spices that transform simple sweet liquid into something memorable and meaningful. This is where basic ingredients become magic through proper technique and attention. You measure cinnamon sticks carefully, a dozen of them, each about 8 centimetres long, thick and fragrant. You break them into pieces before adding them. Breaking releases more surface area, more opportunity for flavour extraction. The pieces fall into the pot with soft plops. Already you can smell their influence, even without heat. That warm, sweet, spicy aroma that defines comfort across hundreds of cultures. Whole cloves next. You count them carefully. 28 exactly, not 30, not 25. 28. This precision matters more than it seems. Cloves are powerful. Slightly too many creates medicinal character. Too few, and they disappear under cinnamon's dominance. The exact right amount creates balance and harmony. 28 cloves for 20 litres. A ratio you learned through your mother's patient teaching and your own experimentation over years. 3-star anise pods. These you add whole without breaking. They're beautiful. 8 pointed stars that look decorative even before releasing their distinctive licorice-like flavour. They float on the surface briefly before settling as liquid movement subsides. Strips of dried orange peel, maybe 10 pieces total, each about 3 centimetres long, curved slightly from their original spherical orange form. Deep orange colour on the outside, white pith on the inside. They'll add brightness and complexity, a citrus note that lifts and lightens the heavier spice flavours. And finally, your special addition. 2 vanilla beans. You split them lengthwise with a small knife. Scrape out the tiny black seeds inside. Add both the seeds and the split pods to the pot. Vanilla is expensive, precious even, but its impact is worth the investment. that deep, creamy, sweet character that can't be replicated with artificial extracts. The pot goes onto the burner with a heavy scraping sound, metal on metal. You adjust the heat setting to medium, not high, never high with cider. Gradual heating is essential. The mixture needs time to infuse properly, time for flavours to meld and marry and create something greater than their individual contributions. Rushing creates harsh flavours, burnt notes, bitterness. Patience creates depth and harmony. You watch the surface. The mixture is completely still at first, just sitting there like any cold liquid. Then slowly, gradually, almost imperceptibly, it begins to move. Gentle convection as the bottom layer heats and rises. Hot liquid moving up. Cool liquid moving down to take its place, creating circulation without external agitation. Quietly hypnotic if you watch carefully. The physics of heat transfer creating beautiful patterns. Steam begins to rise after maybe 10 minutes. First in invisible wisps that you only know exist because they carry scent. Then invisible threads that twist and curl in the air currents. Then in substantial clouds that fill your immediate workspace and drift beyond into the larger commissary space, carrying messages to everyone in the vicinity that something interesting is happening, something worth investigating. The aromatic impact follows the steam. It starts subtle. Just sweetness at first, sugar and apple combining into basic pleasant smell. Then cinnamon makes itself known, that warm, spicy character that defines holiday cooking across cultures, building gradually, becoming more prominent, taking control of the olfactory space. The cloves add their sharpness next, cutting through the sweetness, providing contrast and edge, making the overall profile more complex and interesting, less one-dimensional. The orange peel contributes its brightness. That citrus zip that lightens and lifts, keeps everything from becoming too heavy or cloying. And underneath it all, subtle but present, the vanilla adds its creamy richness, its depth. That quality that makes good things great, luxury in a pod. Around you, kitchen staff begin to notice. Heads turn toward your workspace, noses twitch involuntarily as scent receptors register something unexpected and appealing. Someone pauses in their work to inhale deeply. Someone else asks, "What is that smell?" "Spiced cider," you answer, keeping your attention on the pot, monitoring temperature, watching for the moment when it's ready. Traditional preparation, ready in about 20 more minutes. 20 minutes passes in comfortable working rhythm. You start the second pot while monitoring the first. Same process, same measurements, same technique. Muscle memory and practiced efficiency making the work smooth. No wasted motion, no unnecessary steps, just pure focused execution of learned skills. The repetition is its own form of meditation. Pour water, measure concentrate, add sugar, stir until dissolved. Measure spices with careful precision. Add them in proper sequence. Set heat to medium. Monitor progress. Adjust as needed. Repeat. The satisfaction that comes from doing familiar work well, from producing consistent results through reliable techniques. By the time the first pot reaches proper serving temperature, a small crowd has gathered in the commissary space. Not exactly a line, nobody wants to seem too eager or demanding, but a collection of interested people who've positioned themselves strategically nearby, trying not to look too hopeful, failing completely. Their interest is obvious in their body language, in how they keep glancing toward your workspace, in how they linger despite having other places to be. You test the temperature carefully. Too hot will burn mouths and create complaints. Too cool won't provide the warming comfort. That's the whole point. You dip a clean spoon into the liquid. Let a small amount cool on the metal for a few seconds. Touch it carefully to your lips, then taste it properly. Hot but not burning. Perfect. The flavour is balanced, sweet but not cloying, spiced but not overwhelming. Exactly right. You begin ladling cider into cups, Standard grey plastic commissary cups. Durable, functional, completely utilitarian. They're not beautiful or special, but they retain heat well, they're comfortable to hold, they serve their purpose perfectly. That's enough. The first recipient is a young mechanic who's been hovering nearby since the smell first filled the space. Human male, maybe 22 years old. His coveralls show extensive grease stains from working on engines and hydraulic systems. His face shows exhaustion that goes beyond simple lack of sleep. The deeper tiredness that comes from sustained stress and long shifts, and the weight of knowing people's lives depend on your work being perfect every single time. He accepts the cup with both hands, wraps them completely around it, seeking the warmth as much as the beverage. He lifts it to his face, closes his eyes, inhales deeply, holds that breath for a long moment, then exhales slowly. Some of the tension visibly releases from his shoulders. His jaw unclenches slightly. His forehead smooths. He sips carefully, testing temperature, then drinks more substantially, his eyes open. His expression transforms from exhaustion to something approaching peace. A ghost of a smile appears, genuine pleasure written clearly on his features. "Thank you," he says quietly, his voice hoarse from disuse or perhaps emotion, then again with more feeling, more awareness of what he's actually saying. "Thank you. I didn't realize how much I needed this. Something warm, something that tastes like someone cared about making it properly." You nod acknowledgement, already turning to fill the next cup, beginning the steady rhythm of service that will define your day. The distribution continues steadily for the next 2 hours, a consistent flow of rebels arriving, each one grateful, each one taking a moment to breathe the steam before drinking, each one finding their own meaning in this simple gesture of comfort. You observe the pattern repeating, initial wariness because this seems too good to be real in a place where nothing is free and everything has strings attached. First sip with careful testing, then realization spreading across features. This is actually good. Someone actually cared enough to make this properly. Not the minimum viable product, not just adequate, but genuinely good. Made with attention and skill and proper ingredients. The reactions vary, but the core response is consistent. Gratitude, surprise, a moment of peace in lives defined by constant alertness and preparation for violence. This small oasis of normalcy in the midst of war and danger and uncertainty about tomorrow. An older woman lingers after receiving her cup, holding it in both hands, steam rising around her face. She has the accent of Karelia's core regions when she speaks. My grandmother made something similar to this, on Karelia, every winter during festival season. The whole house would smell like cinnamon for days. I haven't tasted anything like this in 10 years, not since I left home to join up. I didn't think I'd ever taste it again. I'm from Chandrila originally, you tell her. Similar traditions there. My family ran a tavern. This was our winter specialty. She nods slowly. Understanding passing between you without need for extensive explanation. Both far from home. Both unable to return for reasons that don't need stating. Both here fighting for something larger than yourselves, but connected through cider and shared cultural memory and the universal human experience of longing for home. She drinks again, savouring it. It's perfect. Thank you for this. For the reminder that home still exists somewhere, even if we can't reach it right now. She leaves before you can respond, disappearing back into the flow of personnel moving through the base. But her words linger, echoing in your mind. The reminder that home still exists. That's what you're providing. Not just warm beverages, but connection to memories, to identity, to the lives people left behind when they chose to fight. The morning passes in comfortable rhythm. You brew batch after batch. 4 litres, 6 litres, 8 litres. The kettle's running continuously. No breaks in supply. No gaps where people arrive hoping for cider, only to find you've run out. Consistency matters. Reliability matters. People need to know they can depend on this small comfort being available. The base wakes fully as shifts change. Morning duty personnel arriving, night shift finally ending. The commissary fills with the breakfast crowd seeking their morning meal. Basic rations made slightly more bearable by the addition of hot spiced cider that transforms the experience from mere fuel consumption into something approaching actual dining. By mid-morning you've served maybe 100 cups, perhaps more. You've lost precise count. Your arms are tired from stirring and ladling. Your feet hurt from standing on hard floors. Your lower back is developing that familiar ache from sustained posture without movement. But it's good tired, satisfying tired, the kind that comes from work that matters, from effort that produces visible positive results. You take a brief break. Find a supply crate positioned against the wall. Sit down heavily. Just rest for a few minutes. Let your muscles recover. You pour yourself a cup of cider, your own first taste since the initial quality check hours ago. You close your eyes. Breathe in the steam. Drink slowly. Let the warmth spread through you. This is why you do this. This moment, this simple pleasure, multiplied by 100 people, each one carrying this warmth forward into their day. Marin said you're making the cider. A voice interrupts your brief meditation. You open your eyes. A Twi'lek pilot stands before you. Young, maybe mid-20s, orange flight suit marking her as part of the active fighter squadron. Holding a cup of your cider in one hand. Her head tails draped over her shoulders in relaxed posture. That's right, you confirm, taking another sip from your own cup. It's really good, like really good. The pilots were talking about it during our morning briefing. People were having trouble staying focused on mission parameters because they kept thinking about getting cider after the briefing ended. You smile at that. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to cause distractions during important operational planning. Don't be sorry, this reminds us what we're fighting for. Normal things, simple pleasures, home. The idea that somewhere in the galaxy, people are sitting in warm kitchens drinking cider and not thinking about the Empire, or the war, or whether they'll survive tomorrow. That's what we're trying to preserve. This exact thing right here. She doesn't elaborate further. Doesn't need to. You understand exactly what she means. The rebellion isn't primarily about military victory. That's just the method. The actual goal is preserving the possibility of normal life, of warm kitchens and hot drinks and moments of peace, of a galaxy where people can live without fear, where small pleasures aren't considered luxuries but basic rights that everyone deserves. I'll keep brewing all day, you tell her, all week if needed, as long as supplies hold out. She nods thanks, returns to her duties. You finish your cider, stand despite protesting muscles, return to your kettles. There's more work to do, more people to serve, more comfort to provide. The afternoon brings steady, continuous distribution. You establish rotation with your two pots. While one serves, the other brews. No gaps, no interruptions, just constant availability for anyone who wants or needs it. You begin making rounds through the base when serving in the commissary becomes routine enough that others can handle it briefly, bringing cider to different locations, taking it to people who can't easily leave their posts, carrying thermal containers filled with hot liquid to various work areas. The mechanics appreciate it during their breaks. They work in the cold hangar where heating is minimal to avoid fire risk around fuel and volatile chemicals. The hot cider provides warming relief during brief rest periods between tasks. They drink it quickly, using it more for warmth than flavour, though they appreciate both, then return to their work with a renewed energy. The small break making the long shifts more sustainable. The medical staff uses it differently. They keep cups nearby during their shifts, sipping occasionally between tasks, using it as sustained comfort during long hours of careful work that requires precision and attention. One of the nurses mentions using it to help warm patients who've been outside too long. The calories and warmth both beneficial for people recovering from cold exposure. The communication officers enjoy it during their long analytical shifts. They work in a dark room filled with displays and readouts, monitoring transmissions, coordinating with other cells across the galaxy, analysing encrypted messages for actionable intelligence. Their work is cerebral, mentally draining. The cider provides sensory grounding, a reminder that they're physical beings with bodies that need care, not just minds that need sharp focus. Each location develops its own relationship with the service over these first days, own preferences emerging, own rituals forming around the simple act of accepting a cup of hot liquid. The following days continue in similar patterns. You establish routines, you teach the kitchen staff your techniques. Renner proves a quick learner. Kelvin develops his own innovations. Together, they take ownership of the operation. The Midwinter Festival brings the whole base together in the hangar for an informal gathering, music and conversation, and shared cider, people choosing to be present with each other, creating community in the midst of everything. When you depart after 5 days, it's with promises to return. Monthly deliveries, regular schedule, reliable service. You become part of their extended network. The months that follow establish the rhythm. Monthly visits, same route, same procedures, but deepening relationships, learning stories, becoming woven into the fabric of this community. You bring not just supplies, but consistency, reliability, someone who keeps showing up, someone who cares about quality, someone who treats this work as meaningful, not just transactional. The galaxy continues its vast turnings. The war continues its complicated dance, but in this small corner, warmth persists, comfort endures, community thrives, and you keep returning, keep brewing, keep serving, keep maintaining that small bright spot of normalcy. Because that's what matters most. Not grand gestures, not heroic acts, just consistent care. Reliable service, the steady work of making life slightly better. One cup at a time, one person at a time, one moment at a time. The work continues, will continue, as long as needed. And now, you too may rest. The galaxy continues, without you for a while. Small acts of kindness echo forward into futures we cannot see. May your sleep be as warm as spiced cider in grateful hands. May you wake knowing that every small comfort you've shared lives on. A light against darkness, warmth against cold. A reminder that civilization persists, that hope remains, that the future is worth fighting for, that small acts matter as much as grand gestures, that ordinary people doing ordinary work with extraordinary care can change the world one cup at a time. Good night. The afternoon service settles into a steady, predictable rhythm, the kind that lets your mind drift while your hands continue working. One pot cooling slightly while serving, the other heating a fresh batch. You found the timing now, the perfect rotation that ensures continuous availability without waste or gaps. Your breath slows again. You establish a serving station near the main commissary entrance, where foot traffic naturally flows. People passing through can see the steam rising from your kettles, can smell the cinnamon and cloves before they even decide whether to stop. The aromatic advertisement, working better than any announcement over the communication system ever could. A steady stream of rebels arrives throughout the afternoon. Not a crush, not overwhelming demand. Just a consistent flow of individuals and small groups, each seeking a brief moment of warmth and comfort during their shift breaks or transitions between duties. You learn to recognize the patterns. The mechanics arrive in clusters around 1400 hours when their mid-shift break begins. The communication officers drift by individually whenever they can spare 10 minutes from their monitoring stations. The medical staff sends runners to collect multiple cups at once, bringing warmth back to patients and colleagues who cannot leave their posts. You begin making rounds yourself when serving traffic slows enough that Renner can handle distribution alone. She's proven herself capable after just a few hours of observation. Her measurements are accurate. Her temperature control is careful. Her interactions with personnel are warm and genuine. You trust her to maintain quality in your absence. Your first delivery run takes you back to the hangar where this morning began. The space has transformed since your pre-dawn arrival. Full daylight now, or as much daylight as penetrates the moon's thin atmosphere and the base's defensive shields. The work lights seem less necessary now, but remain on anyway, adding their yellow warmth to the natural illumination. You carry 2 large thermal containers, each holding approximately 5 litres. Heavy, but manageable with the built-in handles. The walk from commissary to hangar takes perhaps 7 minutes through the winding corridors and stairwells, long enough that you feel the weight in your shoulders and forearms by the time you arrive, short enough that the thermal insulation keeps the cider perfectly hot. The mechanics notice your arrival immediately. Work doesn't stop, but heads turn. Interest registers on tired faces. You set up your containers on a cleared workbench near the centre of the hangar, where multiple teams can access them easily. Arrange cups in neat rows. Create a simple self-service station that doesn't require your constant presence. Fresh cider, you announce to no one in particular and everyone in general. Help yourselves when you need a break. The first mechanic to approach is the young human from this morning, still covered in grease stains that have somehow multiplied and spread since you saw him hours ago. His hands are black with hydraulic fluid and carbon scoring. He washes them quickly at a nearby sink before accepting a cup from you. You came back, he says. Simple statement of fact, but carrying undertones of surprise and gratitude. Said I would, meant it. He drinks deeply. His eyes close briefly. When they open again, some of the exhaustion has retreated, not gone, never fully gone in a place like this where people work double shifts and sleep in 4-hour blocks, but lessened, made more manageable. This helps more than you know, more than I can explain properly. It's not just the warmth or the taste, it's the fact that someone took time to make it properly, to bring it here, to care about something beyond just mission requirements and operational necessities. You nod understanding. Words aren't always necessary. Sometimes presence and attention speak more clearly than any verbal acknowledgement could. Other mechanics begin gravitating toward your station. A Twi'lek female with oil-stained leku, a human male whose right hand is wrapped in fresh bandages from some recent minor injury, a Sulustan whose coveralls identify him as Senior Hydraulic Specialist. They serve themselves or wait patiently for you to pour. They thank you with nods or short phrases, or simply by drinking with obvious appreciation. You watch them return to their work, cups in hand, sipping between tasks, the cider integrating into their workflow, becoming part of their routine rather than interrupting it. That's important. You're not creating breaks or distractions. You're adding comfort to existing patterns, enhancing rather than disrupting. Your second stop is the medical bay, a more sobering location than the hangar's purposeful activity. Here the work is quieter, more intense, the stakes more obviously life and death. You enter through the main entrance with your thermal containers. A human nurse notices you immediately and approaches with careful steps that suggest long hours on her feet. "You're the one making cider?" she asks. Her voice is soft, professionally modulated to avoid disturbing patients in nearby rooms. "That's right. Thought you might appreciate some warmth here." Her expression shifts into something like relief. "We absolutely would. We've been smelling it through the ventilation system all morning. It's been driving us slightly crazy, wondering if we could get some without abandoning our posts." You set up another serving station in their break room, a small space adjacent to the main ward. Basic furniture, functional lighting, everything clean but worn from constant use. The nurse watches you arrange everything with careful attention to detail that suggests she might want to set this up herself in the future. "How many staff are on duty?" you ask, while pouring cups for immediate distribution. 6 currently, 3 nurses, 2 doctors, 1 medical technician. Plus, we have 4 patients in recovery who might benefit from something warm if it's medically appropriate. It's basically spiced apple juice. Sugar, water, mild spices. Should be fine for most patients, unless they have specific dietary restrictions. I'll check with the doctors, but I think several of our current patients would really appreciate it. We have 2 people recovering from cold exposure. The warming effect could be genuinely therapeutic beyond just psychological comfort. She takes a cup herself, drinks carefully. Her shoulders visibly relax. This is perfect. Thank you for thinking of us. Medical staff often gets overlooked for morale initiatives because people assume we're too busy or too focused on clinical work to care about small comforts. But we're human too. We need these moments just as much as anyone. You leave her with both thermal containers and instructions for refills. Promise to check back later. She thanks you again with genuine warmth. Your third destination is the communication hub, located deeper in the base than anywhere you've been so far, 3 levels down from the commissary, through corridors that become noticeably narrower and more utilitarian. The lighting shifts from adequate to barely sufficient. The walls show no decorative touches or personal modifications, just raw rock and functional durasteel. The communication hub entrance is guarded, not heavily, just 1 person with a datapad checking authorizations. A Rhodian male whose antennae twitch when he notices your thermal containers and the distinctive aroma trailing behind you. Need authorization to enter, he states professionally. I'm delivering cider to the communication staff. Contracted supplier. Cleared by Marin in commissary logistics. He checks his datapad. Confirms your credentials. His antennae twitch again when you open 1 container to show him the contents. That smells amazing. Is there any chance? You pour him a cup without making him finish the question. He accepts it with both hands, drinks immediately. Makes a sound of deep satisfaction that transcends language barriers. I've been on duty for 9 hours, he says, standing here checking IDs and monitoring this door. This is the best thing that's happened all day. Thank you. Inside the communication hub, the atmosphere is completely different from the rest of the base. Dark, quiet, focused, multiple workstations arranged in rows, each one featuring multiple displays showing various data streams and communication channels. Personnel sitting at their stations wearing headsets, fingers moving across keyboards and controls. Concentration visible in their postures and expressions. The shift supervisor approaches, human female, middle-aged, with grey hair and sharp eyes. You're the cider supplier? That's right. Thought your team might appreciate something to help with the long shifts. Her expression softens slightly. That's very considerate. We can't drink while actively monitoring channels, but during breaks it would be wonderful. May I? She gestures toward the containers. You pour her a cup. She drinks slowly, deliberately, tasting and evaluating, then nods approval. This is excellent quality, real spices, not synthetic approximations. Apple juice base, not just flavoured sugar water. Someone knows what they're doing. Family recipe, 3 generations. It shows. This level of quality is rare in military supply chains, where everything gets optimized for cost and shelf stability rather than flavor or craftsmanship. You set up the containers in their small break area, show her how to check temperature, explain the approximate serving size. She listens carefully, takes mental notes, thanks you formally. As you leave, you notice several communication officers glancing toward the break area, noses twitching, interest barely concealed behind professional discipline. They'll take their breaks in rotation, each one getting their chance for warmth and comfort. The cider will be gone within 2 hours. You'll need to return with refills. The pattern repeats through the afternoon, delivering to different locations, setting up temporary serving stations, explaining and demonstrating and leaving supplies with instructions. Each area develops its own relationship with the service, its own rituals emerging organically. The pilots in their ready room incorporate cider into their pre-flight routine, a shared cup before missions, a way to center themselves, to connect with the simple human pleasure of warm beverages before climbing into cockpits where survival depends on split-second reactions and perfect execution under extreme stress. The command staff in their strategy room use it during long planning sessions, setting cups beside tactical displays, showing fleet positions and resource allocations. The cider helping them stay alert and focused during marathon sessions, where decisions made in this room will ripple across multiple star systems and affect thousands of lives. The maintenance crews in the lower levels drink it quickly during brief breaks, using it primarily for warmth in areas where environmental systems struggle to maintain comfortable temperatures. The calories and heat both welcome in spaces that always feel slightly too cold, no matter how hard the systems work. By late afternoon, you've delivered approximately 50 litres to various locations. Your shoulders ache from carrying heavy containers. Your feet hurt from walking miles through corridors and stairwells. But it's satisfying ache, good tired, the physical evidence of work that matters, of service that people genuinely appreciate. You return to the commissary kitchen around 1700 hours. The evening meal service is beginning. The smell shifts from cider spices to cooking proteins and vegetables. The kitchen staff moves with practiced efficiency through their dinner preparation routines. Renner has maintained the commissary serving station beautifully in your absence, both kettles running continuously, quality remaining consistent. She beams with pride when you taste test her latest batch and nod approval. "You're doing this perfectly," you tell her. "The measurements are exact. The timing is right. The temperature is ideal. You've learned this faster than most people would." "I had a good teacher," she responds, "and I've been watching carefully, paying attention to everything you do, not just the obvious steps, but the small details. How you test temperature, how you adjust heat, how you know when it's ready just by smell and colour without needing to taste every time. Those small details matter more than people realise. Cooking is about precision and attention. Anyone can follow a recipe. The difference between adequate results and excellent results is in those small details that seem insignificant but accumulate into quality." Kelvin, the Duros cook, joins your conversation. He's been experimenting with variations during quiet moments, testing different spice ratios, adjusting sugar levels, trying to create versions tailored for specific preferences. "I made a batch with extra cinnamon for the mechanics," he explains. "They mentioned liking strong spice flavours, something with more impact. So I increased cinnamon by about 30% and added a touch more clove. The feedback was very positive." "That's exactly right," you encourage him. Understanding your audience, adapting to preferences, not just following the base recipe mechanically, but thinking about who you're serving and what they need. That's how good becomes great. The three of you work together through the evening service, a smooth team despite minimal practice. You've created a functional system that doesn't depend solely on your presence. That will continue after you leave. That builds capacity within the base's permanent staff, rather than creating dependency on external suppliers. The dinner hour brings the largest crowd yet, multiple shifts overlapping, people seeking both their evening meal and the cider that's become the day's unexpected highlight. You maintain 3 serving stations simultaneously, one at the commissary entrance, one in the main galley, one in the corridor outside where overflow crowds gather. The conversations you overhear tell you this is working beyond your initial expectations. People discussing the cider with genuine enthusiasm, making plans to return for second cups, recommending it to colleagues who haven't tried it yet. This simple beverage has become a topic of conversation, a shared experience that creates connection. A commander you haven't met before approaches during a brief lull, human male, approximately 45, with commander's insignia and the bearing of someone accustomed to authority and responsibility. "Your Kess, the cider supplier? That's right. I'm Commander Vela, Base Operations. I wanted to thank you personally for this initiative. Morale indicators have shown measurable improvement since this morning. Small but significant. People are more engaged, more communicative, better cooperation across departments, all correlating with the cider service. You measure morale, you ask, with genuine curiosity? Informally, through observation and reports from department heads. It's not precise science, but patterns emerge over time. And the pattern today is clearly positive. This is having an effect beyond just immediate pleasure. You're providing something people didn't realize they needed until they experienced it. It's just cider, simple recipe, basic ingredients. It's never just anything, he corrects gently. Context creates meaning. In a military base where everything is optimized for efficiency and operational necessity, something made purely for comfort and pleasure becomes significant. It reminds people they're more than soldiers or technicians or support staff. They're beings with interior lives who deserve care and attention. His words carry weight, thoughtfulness born from experience and observation. This isn't casual flattery or obligatory thanks. He means what he's saying. Will you be able to continue this service long term, he asks, or is this a one-time delivery? That depends on Marin and base leadership. I can source ingredients reliably. I've begun training your kitchen staff on preparation techniques. The equipment I brought can stay here permanently. So logistically, it's sustainable if there's organizational support. There will be. I'll ensure it. This kind of morale benefit justifies the resource allocation easily. Consider yourself approved for regular, monthly deliveries indefinitely. He extends his hand formally. You shake it, the gesture feeling like more than simple courtesy, more like acknowledgement between professionals, mutual respect between people who understand the value of their respective work. Evening transitions into night. The base shifts to night cycle operations. Lighting dims slightly throughout common areas. The corridor traffic thins, different personnel emerging for night shift duties, while day shift finally rests. You brew one final large batch around 2100 hours. This one specifically for night shift personnel. The ones who maintain base operations while others sleep, who work through quiet hours when the rest of the galaxy rests. They deserve special consideration, extra care. You add slightly more vanilla to this batch. Make it a touch sweeter. Something especially comforting for people facing long hours in the cold pre-dawn darkness. When you begin serving this batch, the response confirms your instinct was correct. A maintenance technician thanks you with tears in her eyes. I've been working nights for 3 months straight. Same routine every cycle. Wake up when everyone else sleeps. Work in empty corridors. Eat alone. This is the first time in weeks someone has made something special, specifically for night shift. Usually we just get leftovers or whatever's still available from day shift service. Thank you for thinking of us. Your body loosens. Just a little more. By midnight you're exhausted, truly, deeply tired. You've been working for nearly 20 hours since your pre-dawn landing. Your entire body aches. Your voice is hoarse from hours of conversation. Your hands are wrinkled from constant washing and exposure to steam. But you've served approximately 400 cups of cider to approximately 300 different people. You've distributed comfort and warmth throughout the entire base. You've created something that people will remember. That will become part of the base's culture and routine. Renner and Kelvin insist you stop for the night. They'll maintain service for night shift. They know the techniques now. They can handle it. You need rest, you don't argue. You're too tired to argue. You just nod agreement and stumble toward your assigned quarters. A small room, basic bunk, tiny refresher, but it's quiet and private and the mattress is adequate. You fall asleep within minutes. Deep, dreamless sleep born from satisfying exhaustion. The sleep of someone who worked hard at something meaningful, who made a difference in people's lives, who earned their rest through honest effort. Tomorrow will bring more brewing, more service, more conversations, more connections, but tonight you rest. And somewhere in the base, Rebels drink cider and feel cared for, feel seen, feel valued. That's enough. That's everything. Day 2 begins earlier than you intended. Your internal clock wakes you at 500 hours, despite having only 6 hours of sleep. Your body remembers the rhythm of work, the pattern of early starts and long days. You lie in the bunk for a few minutes, letting consciousness return gradually. Listening to the ambient sounds of the base, the distant hum of environmental systems, the muffled footsteps of personnel in corridors, the living sounds of a community that never fully sleeps. Your muscles protest when you finally rise, stiffness from yesterday's sustained physical labour, your shoulders especially tight from carrying heavy containers, your lower back complaining about hours of standing and bending. But it's manageable discomfort, nothing that won't loosen up with movement and warmth. The refresher provides lukewarm water for washing. Not hot, not cold, that middle temperature that's somehow less refreshing than either extreme would be. But it's adequate. It cleans away yesterday's sweat and residue, leaves you feeling slightly more human and considerably more awake. You dress in the same clothes as yesterday. They smell like cinnamon and cloves. The spice oils have permeated the fabric despite your coat. You've stopped noticing consciously. The smell has become part of your personal environment, background rather than foreground. But others will notice, will identify you by scent before seeing your face. The commissary kitchen is already active when you arrive at 5:30. Breakfast preparation in full swing. The day shift kitchen staff working with the efficiency born from routine. Renna notices you immediately and waves greeting from her station, where she's already begun heating the first batch of cider. Couldn't sleep? She asks with knowing smile. Body remembered the work schedule before my brain fully caught up. I know that feeling. Been working in kitchens since I was 12. My hands know the routines better than my head does sometimes. You move to your workspace, check the kettles, verify that everything remained properly cleaned and stored overnight. Good habits preventing problems before they develop. Renna and Kelvin maintained standards perfectly. The equipment shows care and attention. The morning develops similar patterns to yesterday. Early arrivals seeking warmth before their shifts begin. Steady distribution as the base wakes fully. By 7:30, you've served perhaps 60 cups. Not as dramatic as yesterday's initial surge, but solid consistent demand that suggests ongoing interest rather than mere novelty. The young mechanic returns. You're beginning to think of him by face rather than description. Still exhausted, still covered in grease, but there's something slightly different in his bearing today. Slightly less defeated, slightly more present. Slept better last night, he volunteers without prompting. First full 5 hours in a week. Woke up feeling almost human instead of like a malfunctioning droid running on backup power. The cider helped with that. Don't know if it's the cider specifically, or just the fact that someone bothered to make something nice. Something that wasn't strictly necessary. Sometimes knowing that people care about small things makes the big things feel more manageable. His insight surprises you. This tired young mechanic articulating something profound about human psychology and resilience. About how small acts of care create foundation for handling larger challenges. You file that observation away. Let it inform how you think about this work. The day's rhythm differs slightly from yesterday. Less about establishing the service and more about refining it. You begin noticing patterns and preferences. The mechanics prefer their cider strong and very hot. The medical staff likes it slightly cooler so they can drink while working. The communication officers appreciate consistent, moderate temperature that lets them sip steadily over long periods. You adjust your preparation accordingly. 3 different batches with subtle variations. Not radically different recipes, just small tweaks in spice intensity and serving temperature that make each version slightly more appropriate for its specific audience. Kelvin watches these adjustments with careful attention, making notes on his datapad, learning not just the base recipe, but the art of adaptation, the skill of reading your audience and providing what they need rather than mechanically executing standardized procedures. "This is more complex than I realized initially," he admits during a mid-morning lull. "I thought it was just following measurements and timing, but there's judgment involved, decision-making based on context and feedback." "That's cooking versus merely following recipes," you explain. "Recipes provide framework, but good cooking requires observation and adaptation. Understanding ingredients, understanding people, bringing those together skillfully. I want to learn this properly, not just maintain what you started, but develop it further. Create new variations, build a whole service around comfort beverages, cider during winter, maybe cold drinks during summer, different, warm recipes for different situations and needs." His enthusiasm is infectious. This is exactly what you hoped would happen. Someone taking ownership, developing vision, transforming your initial contribution into something larger and more sustainable. "I'll teach you everything I know," you promise. "Not just the recipes, but the principles, how to source ingredients, how to evaluate quality, how to scale production, how to train others, everything you need to make this yours." The afternoon brings unexpected visitors. Commander Vela returns with another officer, a woman you haven't met, older, maybe 55, with the insignia marking her as senior leadership. They approach your station with the purposeful walk of people on official business. "Kess, this is Commander Thale. She oversees morale and personnel welfare for this sector. Multiple bases report to her office." Commander Thale extends her hand formally. Her grip is firm, professional. "Commander Vela has been updating me on your cider service. The morale impact data is compelling. I'd like to discuss potentially expanding this to other installations in the sector." You weren't prepared for this conversation, hadn't considered scaling beyond Echo Base. "I'm just one person with one ship. I don't have capacity for multiple simultaneous installations." "We understand that. We're thinking about this differently. You wouldn't provide ongoing service to multiple bases. You'd establish the initial service at each location, train their kitchen staff, source their initial ingredient supplies, set up their equipment and procedures, then move to the next installation, creating sustainable programs that continue after you leave. Essentially replicating what I'm doing here, but systematically across multiple locations." "Exactly. Each base gets initial expertise and setup. Then they maintain independently, with periodic restocking from regional suppliers. You'd be a specialist in program establishment, rather than ongoing operation." The proposal is tempting. Larger scope, more impact, but also more complexity, more logistics, more time away from your regular trade routes and established contracts. "I'd need to think about this carefully. Consider logistics and timing. Consult with my existing clients about schedule modifications." "Absolutely. Take whatever time you need, but know that there's official interest and support at sector level. This isn't just local initiative. You've demonstrated something valuable that leadership wants to amplify." They leave you with contact information and promise to follow up in a week. You watch them go with mixed feelings, excitement about possibilities, anxiety about commitments, pride that your work is valued, concern about maintaining quality while expanding scope. Renner appears at your elbow with a fresh cup of cider. "Sounds like you're moving up in the galaxy. Sounds like I'm getting in over my head potentially. Or sounds like you found work that matters, work that uses your skills properly. Not everyone gets that opportunity." Her words strike deeper than she probably intends. You've spent years hauling random cargo between random destinations for random clients. Functional work, profitable work, but not particularly meaningful work. Nothing that made you feel connected to larger purpose or community. This is different. This feels like it matters, like you're contributing to something beyond mere commerce. Like your skills and knowledge serve a purpose that extends past personal survival and profit. The realization settles into you gradually through the afternoon. This is what you've been looking for without knowing you were searching. This is the work that fits, That feels right. That makes the exhaustion and aching muscles and lost sleep feel worthwhile rather than merely tolerated. Evening brings the second midwinter festival gathering. Less formal than the official celebration, will be in 3 more days. More like an impromptu party that develops organically from people having free time simultaneously and wanting to spend it together rather than alone in their small quarters. The hangar serves as gathering space again. Someone sets up music. Others contribute food beyond standard rations. Personal supplies hoarded from visits to stations with actual markets. Treats and delicacies saved for special occasions. Tonight becomes special occasion by collective agreement. You bring your largest thermal containers. Position them centrally. Keep them filled continuously as demand fluctuates. The cider becomes part of the celebration. Not the centre, just one element among many. But important, connecting people through shared experience. You watch the gathering develop, people clustering in small groups, conversations flowing easily, laughter punctuating the music, a few couples dancing without self-consciousness. This is community, genuine human connection, formed through proximity and shared purpose, and the simple choice to be present with each other. A group of pilots invites you to join them. You accept. Sit on the cold hangar floor with your back against a supply crate. They share stories, some funny, some terrifying, some both simultaneously. The dark humour of people who face death regularly and cope through laughter because the alternative is paralysis. They ask about your background, where you're from, how you learned to make cider. You share edited versions, the true parts without the complications, your family's tavern, the festival traditions, the recipes passed down through generations, how the Empire's arrival changed everything, how you ended up here. They nod understanding. Everyone here has similar stories, lives disrupted, families scattered, homes lost. The specific details vary, but the underlying pattern remains constant. The Empire takes. The rebellion resists. Ordinary people choose sides and live with consequences. The Twi'lek pilot, whose name you learn is Nara, speaks quietly about hope. We're not fighting to restore what was lost. Can't restore the past. We're fighting to build something better. A galaxy where people like us don't have to choose between comfort and conscience. Where you can run your family tavern without worrying about imperial inspectors or quotas or sudden nationalization. Where kids can grow up with actual futures instead of just choosing which uniform to wear. Her words resonate. That's the real fight, not military strategy or tactical victories. Building a galaxy where ordinary life is possible, where small businesses survive, where traditions continue, where cider can be made and shared without fear. The gathering continues late into the night. You eventually excuse yourself around midnight, need sleep despite the pleasant atmosphere. Tomorrow brings more work, more brewing, more teaching, more building towards something sustainable. Your second night's sleep is deeper than the first. Your body fully exhausted, your mind at peace, the satisfaction of meaningful work creating foundation for genuine rest. Day 3 through 5 blur together into comfortable routine. Each day similar but not identical. Same core activities but with variations and developments. You're no longer establishing the service, you're refining it, improving it, building capacity. You spend substantial time teaching, formal sessions with Renner and Kelvin, detailed instruction on techniques and principles, how to evaluate spice quality, how to adjust recipes, how to troubleshoot problems, how to maintain consistency across multiple batches and different personnel. They prove excellent students. Renner has natural intuition for flavours and combinations. She experiments with herbal additions, finds local plants in the base's hydroponics bay that complement the traditional spices, creates a variation that's distinctly her own, while respecting the recipe's foundation. Kelvin approaches it more systematically, documents everything, creates detailed procedures, builds training materials for future kitchen staff, develops inventory tracking systems, thinks about logistics and sustainability. His contribution is less creative, but equally valuable. Together they create a program that will outlast your visit, that will continue functioning after you leave. That builds capability within the base rather than dependency on external expertise. You also spend time with various personnel throughout the base, not just delivering cider, but talking, listening, learning their stories, understanding their roles, building actual relationships rather than transactional exchanges. The young mechanic, whose name you finally learn is Dev, opens up about his journey, how he joined the rebellion at 18, how he's been working on fighters for 4 years now, how the constant pressure and responsibility wear him down slowly, how the cider represents something precious, a reminder that life includes more than just duty and survival. Commander Vela invites you to observe a planning session, not to participate, just to see how command staff operates, how they balance multiple priorities, how they make decisions with imperfect information, how they carry the weight of choices that affect hundreds of lives. You watch them work through a logistics problem, insufficient supplies, too many competing needs, no perfect solution, just trade-offs and compromises, doing the best possible with limited resources and unlimited demands. It's humbling, seeing the complexity they manage, the stress they carry, the burden of responsibility that never lightens. When the session ends, Commander Vela walks with you back to the commissary. I wanted you to see that, to understand what you're supporting. Every small improvement in morale creates space for us to make harder decisions. When people feel cared for, they handle stress better, perform better, sustain better. Your cider isn't trivial, it's strategic. Her words reframe your work, not charity, not luxury. Strategic investment in human capital. Essential infrastructure for sustained operations. You've been thinking too small, underestimating your contribution's significance. The official Midwinter Festival arrives on day 5. The base transforms subtly. Decorations appear in common areas. Simple things, string lights, paper ornaments, handmade decorations created from salvaged materials. Nothing elaborate, just enough to mark the occasion, to create sense of celebration despite circumstances. The commissary staff prepares special meals, better food than usual rations, real vegetables, actual desserts, food that provides pleasure beyond mere nutrition. Your cider production increases dramatically. You've taught enough people now that 5 kettles operate simultaneously, maintaining continuous supply for the entire base population. The evening celebration fills the hangar completely. Hundreds of people gathering, music from multiple instruments creating chaotic harmony. Food tables laden with contributions from personal stores, your cider flowing steadily from multiple stations. Warmth travels through your hands. You stand near one serving station, not actively serving anymore, just present, watching. Renna and her trained assistants handle distribution smoothly. You're no longer necessary for basic operations. They've internalized the knowledge, made it their own. A hand touches your shoulder. You turn to find Commander Thale. Impressive work. You've built something sustainable, something that will last. Renna and Kelvin did most of it. I just provided the initial framework. You did much more than that. You provided expertise, attention, care, standards. That's what makes the difference between adequate and excellent, between temporary novelty and lasting program. She hands you a formal datapad. This is an official contract offer, 6-month assignment, establishing beverage comfort services at 8 additional bases, 2 weeks per location, training, setup, documentation, full salary and expenses. Think about it seriously. You take the datapad, feel its weight physically and symbolically. This represents commitment, direction, purpose beyond simple trade work. But it also represents change. Transformation from independent contractor to specialized consultant, from generalist to expert, from transient visitor to integral participant. I'll review it carefully, provide answer within the week as promised. That's all we ask, but know that you've demonstrated real value. This isn't charity or make work. This is recognition of genuine capability and impact. The celebration continues until late, gradually winding down as exhaustion overtakes even festive spirit. People drift away to sleep, to rest, to gather strength for continuing the work tomorrow. You help with clean-up, washing equipment, storing supplies, putting everything back in order. The kitchen staff works alongside you with the comfortable silence of people who've worked together successfully. No longer strangers, not quite friends yet, but colleagues, team members, connected through shared purpose and accomplishment. When everything is finally clean and stored, Renna walks you to your quarters. Thank you for this, not just the cider, the teaching, the respect, treating us like skilled workers worthy of real knowledge transfer rather than just temporary labour to exploit. You earned every bit of knowledge through attention and practice and genuine interest. I just provided information. You created skill, she smiles. However you want to frame it. Just know it mattered. This whole week mattered. Not just to me, to everyone. You reminded us what we're fighting for. What normal life looks like when people care about quality and comfort and each other. She leaves you at your door. You enter your small quarters. Sit on the bunk. Process the week. 5 days that felt like much longer. 5 days that changed something fundamental in how you think about your work and your place in the galaxy. Tomorrow, you'll depart. Return to your ship. Resume your normal routes and contracts. But something has shifted permanently. You know now what work can feel like when it connects to purpose larger than mere survival. When skills serve community, when effort creates meaning. The galaxy continues its complicated dance. The war persists, the empire oppresses, the rebellion resists, and somewhere in the cold spaces between stars, small acts of kindness echo forward into futures we cannot see. You sleep deeply, dreamlessly, the sleep of someone who worked well at something meaningful, who made a difference, who found purpose. And tomorrow begins the next chapter. Whatever that may be, day 6 arrives with mixed emotions, your scheduled departure, the return to normal operations. But normal feels different now, after 5 days of meaningful immersion. Your ship waits on the landing pad. Your cargo bay stands empty. Your route calls you outward, but part of you wants to stay, to continue this work, to maintain these connections. The morning ritual feels bittersweet. Final checks on the cider service, ensuring everything is properly documented, verifying that Renna and Kelvin have all necessary information, contact details for ingredient suppliers, equipment maintenance procedures, troubleshooting guides, everything they might need to sustain operations independently. They walk with you to the hangar, carrying your specialized brewing kettles that you're leaving behind as permanent equipment. Additional gift beyond the contract terms. Investment in their continued success. They protest initially. These kettles are valuable, professional grade, expensive to replace. Keep them, you insist. They belong here now. They serve a purpose here. I can source new ones for my next installation. These have become part of EchoBase, part of your program. They should stay. Renna's eyes water slightly. She turns away, composing herself. When she turns back, her expression is controlled, but her voice carries emotion. We'll maintain them perfectly. Honour their quality through careful use and proper maintenance. They'll brew cider for years to come, decades potentially, serving rebels who haven't even joined yet. The walk to your ship takes longer than necessary. You're deliberately slow, extending the goodbye, delaying the transition. The hangar feels familiar now. The corridors feel known. The faces feel like community rather than strangers. Tam meets you at the landing pad, helps load your empty crates and personal gear. The work takes minutes, nothing to unload, just preparation for departure. He shakes your hand firmly. Come back soon, monthly as contracted. We need this, need you. Not just the cider, the presence, the care, the attention to detail. I'll be back before the month ends. Regular schedule, reliable service. Good. That matters more than you probably realise. Reliability is rare in military operations, where everything constantly changes and adapts. Having something consistent to anticipate provides psychological anchor. You board the Wandering Gull, power up systems, run through pre-flight checks. Everything functions normally. The ship responds to controls precisely, ready for departure. But you pause before requesting clearance, looking back at the base through your viewport. This place that was just another delivery destination 5 days ago, that has become something more, somewhere that matters. You transmit departure request, receive immediate clearance, lift off smoothly. The base shrinks below, disappears into its natural camouflage, hidden once again. Just empty ice fields and rock formations to casual observation. But you know what lies beneath, what community exists within those caves, what warmth persists despite the cold. Breaking atmosphere is transition, the buffeting of air resistance giving way to smooth silence of space, the view expanding from local planetary concerns to the vast canvas of stars, the familiar feeling of returning to your natural element where you function best, where you belong. You set course for your next destination, not another rebel base, a legitimate trade station where you have regular business, spare parts to purchase, contacts to maintain, credits to manage, the normal commerce that keeps independent operators viable between irregular rebel contracts. The nav computer calculates the hyperspace jump. You review the route carefully, checking for known patrol zones, potential interdiction points. The route looks acceptably safe based on current intelligence, not guaranteed, never guaranteed in contested space, but within acceptable risk parameters for standard operations. You pull the hyperspace lever. Stars stretch into lines, the familiar lurch of transition, the strange not quite silence of travelling through compressed space-time. The hours or days ahead depending on distance and routing complexity. Hyperspace travel is boring after initial transition. Nothing to see, nothing to do except wait and monitor systems. You use the time productively, catching up on deferred maintenance tasks, cleaning components that accumulated grime, checking connections that might have worked loose, updating software on various systems. The unglamorous work that keeps complex machinery operational and reliable. You also use the time to think, processing the past 5 days, considering Commander Thalar's offer, contemplating what accepting would mean for your life and work, the pros and cons, the opportunities and constraints, the potential and the risks. Pros are obvious: meaningful work, stable income, clear purpose, opportunity to scale impact across multiple installations, connection to something larger than yourself, use of your actual skills rather than just general trade work, recognition and respect from people whose opinions matter. Cons are equally clear: less independence, more structure, specific commitments that limit flexibility, less ability to take random opportunities, more reliance on rebel organization, greater personal risk if Imperial intelligence identifies patterns, deeper involvement in conflict rather than peripheral participation. But the decision doesn't feel difficult, despite legitimate concerns. The past 5 days showed you what work can feel like when it matters, when your skills serve purpose, when effort creates meaning. You've been drifting for years, hauling random cargo between random destinations because it paid adequately and required no particular commitment or expertise beyond basic competence. This is different. This is work that fits, that uses you properly, that makes the exhaustion and challenges feel worthwhile rather than merely tolerated. You found your role in this conflict, not as fighter or strategist or hero, as someone who maintains humanity, who provides comfort, who reminds people what they're fighting for through tangible daily experience. The decision crystallizes during your second day in hyperspace. You'll accept Commander Thale's contract, commit to the 6-month assignment, establish programs at 8 bases, build capacity, train personnel, create sustainable systems. Use your knowledge and skills for something that matters beyond mere commerce. You draft your acceptance message carefully, professional, clear, confirming availability and interest, requesting additional details about logistics and timelines, sending it through encrypted channels to the contact coordinates she provided. The message disappears into the communication network. We'll reach her eventually through whatever circuitous routing Rebel communications use for security. You emerge from hyperspace at the trade station on schedule. The station is massive commercial structure orbiting a gas giant, neutral hub serving ships from multiple systems and political affiliations. Commerce trumping ideology here. Credits being the only thing that matters in these carefully neutral spaces where beings from across the galaxy meet to trade without conflict. You dock efficiently, navigate bureaucratic procedures with practiced ease, complete your business methodically, purchase necessary parts at reasonable prices, meet with contacts to discuss potential jobs and maintain relationships. Exchange information about shipping conditions and patrol activity, deposit portion of your earnings in secure accounts, keep remainder liquid for immediate expenses. The station feels different after Echo Base, more anonymous, more focused on transactions than relationships. Everyone politely watching everyone else for threats or opportunities. Trust is absent, everything is negotiation and careful positioning. The contrast is stark, makes you appreciate what you experienced even more. You don't linger, complete your business in 18 hours. Depart toward next destination. Another trade station in different system where additional opportunities await. This is your normal pattern. Continuous movement between commercial nodes, building network of contacts and obligations that creates economic viability. But now there's additional commitments in your schedule. Monthly return to Echo Base, regular deliveries, reliable service, and soon, hopefully, the expanded contract for additional installations. A role that matters, work that serves purpose beyond simple survival. The weeks between Rebel supply runs develop their own rhythm. Commercial jobs fill most time. Small cargo deliveries, occasional passenger transport, information courier services. The work is varied, enough to stay interesting, routine enough to be manageable without high stress, profitable enough to maintain your operation and save for eventual replacement of aging ship systems. But part of your attention is always planning for next Rebel run, sourcing cider ingredients through your network of suppliers, ensuring quality standards, calculating optimal routes that avoid imperial attention, preparing equipment and organizing cargo. The Rebel work becomes integrated into overall business model rather than being separate from it. Both streams supporting each other, creating diversification that provides stability. You receive occasional messages from Echo Base through encrypted channels, brief updates on how the cider service is progressing, requests for specific items to include in next supply run, personal notes from individuals thanking you for your contribution. Nothing elaborate or emotionally demonstrative, just brief acknowledgements that maintain connection across distance and time. Renna sends message detailing new variation she developed using local herbs found growing in Base's hydroponic gardens. The herbs add earthy note that complements the sweet spices. She's proud of the innovation, wants your feedback when you return. Her message reveals someone growing into role and developing expertise beyond simple recipe following. That's exactly what needs to happen for service to remain sustainable and dynamic. Kelvin messages about supply management. The sugar is running lower than expected because demand has remained consistently high rather than dropping after initial novelty period. He wants confirmation that your next delivery will include adequate sugar reserves to prevent running out before you return again. His attention to inventory and planning shows good practical sense and foresight that will serve the program well long term. The young mechanic Dev sends brief thank you note that's almost painfully sincere. He says the cider helps him feel connected to something good and pure in a world that often feels dark and violent. He hopes you'll continue bringing it for a long time. The message makes you uncomfortable with its emotional vulnerability, but also touches something deep that responds to being needed and valued, beyond mere commercial transaction. Commander Vela sends official commendation through formal channels. The message is carefully worded in military language about operational support and morale enhancement. But underneath the formal language is genuine appreciation. She closes with informal postscript noting that she looks forward to your return and hoping your travels are safe and profitable. The human touch beneath professional communication, creating connection that transcends formal roles. These messages collectively create sense of ongoing connection despite physical distance and time separation. You're not just contractor making occasional deliveries anymore. You're part of extended community that exists across space through these digital threads. The realization is both comforting and slightly overwhelming. You've gained something you didn't know you were seeking. Belonging, purpose, role that fits. The month passes quickly in blur of activity and travel. Before you fully register time's passage, it's almost time for your scheduled return to Echo Base. You assemble necessary supplies methodically. The cider ingredients sourced from reliable suppliers. Additional cargo items Marin requested for various base needs. Some personal items you purchased on instinct thinking individuals might appreciate them, even though they weren't requested. Small luxuries, treats, things that provide pleasure beyond basic necessity. The return journey follows different route than your initial delivery. You vary routes deliberately to avoid creating predictable patterns that Imperial intelligence might identify and exploit. The NAV computer plots course that adds significant time but improves security considerably. Safety over efficiency when operating in contested space, where attention means danger. You emerge from hyperspace at Echo Base's system right on schedule. Transmit the current coded frequency that changes every 48 hours for security. Receive immediate clearance to approach. The whole process smooth and professional. No delays or complications. Just efficient execution of established procedures. Tam meets you at landing pad exactly as before. His greeting is warm but professional. Welcome back, Kess. Right on time as expected. Good to see you again. Contract compliance, you respond with slight humour in your voice. How have things been? Busy as always, but morale has remained noticeably better since you established the cider service. People ask about it constantly. When's next batch? Can we get different variations? Can we try new flavours? You created something people care about deeply. That's rare and valuable. You unload cargo together with practiced efficiency born from previous experience. The physical work feels comfortable through repetition. The rhythm established. Bodies knowing what to do without extensive conscious thought. This is good work, satisfying work, creating visible progress toward clear goals. The base feels like returning somewhere known rather than arriving somewhere new. You recognize corridors and landmarks. You know where things are and how to navigate efficiently. Personnel nod to you with recognition rather than curiosity. You've transitioned from outsider to familiar presence, not quite belonging but definitely known and accepted. The commissary welcomes you like returning home. Renner and Kelvin greet you enthusiastically. The kitchen staff who weren't involved in cider service previously have now been trained by Renner and Kelvin, expanding the knowledge base and capacity. They're eager to show you how they've maintained and improved operations in your absence, how they've taken ownership and made it their own while respecting foundation you established. The kettles are clean and well maintained, shows care and respect for equipment. The supplies were managed carefully to last almost exactly until your return. Inventory control working effectively. Quality has remained consistently high based on feedback they've collected and recorded systematically. They've successfully taken complete ownership of operations and made them sustainable. This is exactly what you hoped would happen. You spend first hours reviewing everything carefully and thoroughly, tasting current batches to assess quality and consistency, checking equipment for any developing issues requiring attention, discussing the new variations they've developed and the feedback received, providing constructive feedback and suggestions while being careful not to undermine their confidence or ownership of program they've built. Renner's herb variation is genuinely good. The earthy notes do complement the spices in interesting and pleasant ways. The balance works. You suggest minor adjustments to ratios, but enthusiastically endorse the innovation. She beams with pride at your approval. This is how knowledge grows and traditions evolve healthily, through creative experimentation grounded in understanding of fundamentals. Kelvin shows you his inventory tracking system that he developed independently to predict supply needs based on consumption patterns observed over weeks. It's surprisingly sophisticated for someone without formal logistics training. He's essentially created demand forecasting model using observational data and basic mathematics. You're impressed and tell him so. This kind of systematic thinking will serve program well for years to come. The day develops familiar rhythms that feel comfortable rather than repetitive, brewing and serving. Interactions with personnel who remember you from last visit. New faces who've heard about the cider but haven't met you yet. The satisfaction of watching something you started continuing to function and grow beyond your direct involvement. This is success. Real success that extends beyond yourself. You make your traditional rounds through base bringing deliveries to different departments. The mechanics have been actively looking forward to your return. Several pilots specifically requested you stop by Ready Room when you arrived. Medical staff wants to discuss possibly using cider as part of treatment protocols for certain patients dealing with various issues. The communication hub appreciates the mental boost during long analytical shifts where sustained concentration is critical. Each location has developed its own particular relationship with the service over the past month, own preferences and customs emerging organically. The mechanics prefer strong spiced versions early in their shifts to wake them up and energize them. The pilots like balanced moderate versions that won't interfere with their flying or affect their judgment and reaction times. Medical staff wants gentler versions appropriate for patients with sensitive systems or specific dietary restrictions. The communication hub appreciates variations that can be consumed over long periods without becoming cold and unpleasant. You spend time talking with people beyond just delivering cider and completing transactions, learning their ongoing stories, understanding their roles and challenges, building actual relationships rather than just professional exchanges. This human connection is as important as the beverage itself, maybe more important. The cider is just vehicle. The real gift is attention, presence, care manifested in tangible form. The young mechanic, Dev, continues sleeping better, according to his own report. His work performance has improved measurably, according to his supervisor. The improvement has been noticed officially, and he received commendation for consistent quality and attention to detail. He credits the cider with helping manage his anxiety enough to function properly and rest adequately. You're appropriately skeptical that cider alone could have such dramatic effects, but you don't express that skepticism. If believing it helps him, then it's functionally true, regardless of actual causation. The placebo effect is still an effect. The psychological impact still matters. The Twi'lek pilot Nara introduces you to her squadron mates, more formally this time. Their close-knit group who've flown together for months and survived situations that killed pilots from other squadrons. They have rituals and traditions and superstitions that bind them together psychologically. They've incorporated cider into some of these rituals consciously and deliberately, drinking cup together before difficult missions, toasting fallen comrades with cider instead of alcohol, using the shared warmth as bonding experience that reinforces their unity. Commander Vela requests your presence in Command Center again, not for delivery, for conversation and consultation. She wants your perspective on supply chain logistics from contractors' viewpoint. Your practical knowledge complements her strategic thinking effectively. The conversation becomes genuine collaboration, mutual problem-solving between people with different expertise working towards shared goals. You leave feeling valued for more than just the cider, valued for your judgment and experience and practical knowledge. Marin pulls you aside to discuss expanding the contract terms as previously mentioned. The cider success has made command staff more open to investing in morale-focused initiatives beyond just mission-critical supplies. She wants to explore adding other comfort items to regular deliveries. Foods with flavour and variety beyond nutritional adequacy. Small luxury items that improve quality of life without being wasteful or frivolous. Entertainment materials that provide mental relief from constant stress. She wants your input on what's feasible given your network and capabilities and constraints. You spend hours working through possibilities systematically. Some items are easy to source and transport without complications. Others would be challenging but potentially manageable with right contacts and planning. A few are simply impossible given security constraints and resource limitations that can't be changed. You develop realistic proposal that expands your role without overcommitting to things you can't reliably deliver. Setting expectations appropriately while showing willingness to do more. The second day brings the monthly Midwinter Festival observance. 1 month exactly since last celebration. This will become your rhythm going forward. Monthly visits marked by these small celebrations, regular returns creating continuity and connection across time. The pattern providing psychological stability through predictable positive experiences that can be anticipated and planned for. The festival gathering is similar to previous month, but with its own unique character. Different music reflecting different moods and preferences. Different conversations revealing different concerns and hopes. Different emotional tone reflecting whatever the base experienced during the intervening month. Apparently, there was moderately successful mission 2 weeks ago that boosted morale, and a difficult loss 1 week ago that reminded everyone of costs and risks. The celebration contains both joy and remembrance, both forward hope and backward acknowledgement. The complexity of human emotional experience during war. You find yourself drawn into various conversations about diverse topics, not just cider or supplies, life, hopes, memories, the future they are trying to create through their collective effort. Your outsider perspective seems valuable to people processing complex feelings and experiences. You listen more than you speak, providing space for people to articulate things they need to express to someone, not embedded in daily base operations. The role is simultaneously comfortable and slightly overwhelming. Someone plays music, others join with their own instruments. They improvise together, creating harmony from individual contributions. Different languages, different traditions, same melodies connecting them across differences. You watch from your traditional serving station, ensuring cider flows steadily, witnessing community forming and reforming continuously through small acts of choosing to be present together. The gathering continues late into the night. Music plays, people talk and laugh and remember. Some cry, some comfort. The cider flows continuously as you and the kitchen staff work to maintain adequate supply for everyone who wants it. This is what you're supporting. This capacity for joy and sorrow and connection, despite everything. This refusal to let circumstances destroy their humanity. You fall into bed genuinely exhausted that night, but it's satisfying exhaustion. The deep tiredness that comes from meaningful effort, from work that matters, from contributing to something larger than yourself. You sleep deeply and dreamlessly, the sleep of someone who knows they're doing something worthwhile. Your remaining days follow similar patterns established during previous visit. Work with kitchen staff, deliveries around base, conversations that deepen existing relationships, gradually becoming more woven into fabric of community despite remaining technically external. Your role crystallizing into something specific and valued. Not just supplier, not just contractor, something more like extended family member who lives elsewhere but remains connected and involved. On your final evening before departure, Marin hosts small informal gathering as before. You, Tam, Renner, Kelvin, Commander Vela, and a few other key personnel. Not formal meeting, just food and conversation among people who've worked together successfully and developed mutual respect and appreciation. The atmosphere is relaxed, comfortable, the ease that comes from people who know each other moderately well and enjoy each other's company. The conversation ranges widely, without agenda or structure. Personal histories and how everyone ended up with rebellion. Hopes for future and what kind of galaxy they're trying to create. Frustrations with resource constraints and impossible demands that never stop. Small jokes and shared memories from the past month. The texture of ongoing relationship rather than mere professional association. Commander Vela raises her cup in toast toward end of evening. To Kess, who reminds us we're fighting for cider and warmth and all the small good things that make life worth living. May the Empire never take those things from anyone again. Everyone drinks to that sentiment. You feel honoured by acknowledgement, also slightly uncomfortable being singled out, but you accept the recognition gracefully. These people have accepted you into their circle despite your outsider status. That's gift not lightly given or casually received. The visits will continue monthly, each similar but unique. The work becoming routine but never merely mechanical. The relationships deepening naturally through repeated positive interactions. You becoming part of their extended network, part of their story, part of what sustains them. You too may rest now. The galaxy continues its vast turnings. The war continues its complicated dance, and somewhere in the cold, dark spaces between distant stars, small acts of kindness echo forward into futures we cannot see. May your sleep be as warm as spiced cider in cold, grateful hands, and may you wake knowing that every small comfort you've shared lives on in them, a light against darkness, warmth against cold, a reminder that civilization persists, that hope remains alive, that the future is worth fighting for, that small acts matter as much as grand gestures, that ordinary people doing ordinary work with extraordinary care can change the world one cup at a time. Good night. The weeks and months that follow establish the deeper rhythm of your new life. The regular returns to Echo Base become anchor points, predictable moments of meaning in otherwise variable schedule. Each visit similar enough to feel comfortable, different enough to stay interesting. The relationships deepen naturally through consistent presence and genuine care expressed through both cider and conversation. The tension leaves quietly. During your third visit, you bring new equipment sourced specifically for the program's expansion. Additional kettles of various sizes, specialized serving containers that maintain temperature better, measuring tools for precision, storage solutions for ingredients, each piece carefully selected for durability and functionality. Investment in program's long-term success. Renner and Kelvin have continued innovating during your absence. They've developed a complete menu of variations. Standard traditional recipe that remains most popular. Spiced version with extra cinnamon for mechanics. Mild version for medical patients. Herbal blend incorporating their hydroponic discoveries. Each variation documented carefully with recipes and procedures. The program has become sophisticated operation rather than simple beverage service. They've also begun training new kitchen staff systematically, creating formal apprenticeship program where experienced brewers teach newcomers, building deep capacity that will survive personnel rotations and individual departures. The knowledge becoming institutional rather than personal, embedded in base culture rather than dependent on specific individuals. You observe training session during your third visit. Watch Renner teaching young human woman the proper technique for measuring spices, the patience and attention to detail, the emphasis on precision and consistency, the way she frames it as important skill worth learning properly rather than mere task to complete adequately. You recognize your own teaching style reflected in her approach, the knowledge propagating faithfully through generations of practitioners. Commander Thali's expanded contract materializes during your fourth visit. Official documentation, clear terms, 6-month commitment to establish programs at 8 additional bases, 2 weeks per installation, full salary and expenses, travel support, access to resource networks, everything formalized and professional. You sign without hesitation. The decision made weeks ago. This just makes it official. The first new installation is smaller base in different system, different climate, different personnel, different challenges, but the core approach remains consistent. Assess needs, source ingredients, train staff, establish procedures, build capacity, create sustainability. The pattern works because the underlying principles are sound. People everywhere appreciate comfort and care. The specific details vary, but the fundamental human needs remain constant. Each new base teaches you something, refines your approach, adds to your knowledge. The second installation has particularly limited resources. You learn to adapt recipes for what's available locally rather than insisting on specific ingredients. Flexibility within framework. The third installation has exceptionally talented kitchen staff. You learn to recognize and leverage existing expertise rather than treating everyone as beginners needing basic instruction. Respecting capability. The fourth installation serves primarily non-human personnel. You learn that cider translates surprisingly well across species lines. The warmth and sweetness appeal universally. The spices work for most species with minor adjustments. Only a few species can't consume it due to biological incompatibilities, but even those appreciate the gesture and the consideration. Being included matters even when participation isn't possible. By your sixth installation, you've developed comprehensive training materials, detailed documentation, video recordings, interactive guides, everything someone would need to establish and maintain program independently. You're no longer just sharing knowledge through direct teaching. You're creating resources that scale beyond your personal presence, amplifying impact through systematization. Echo Base remains special despite growing network of installations. It's where everything started, where the relationships run deepest, where you feel most like part of community rather than visiting consultant. Your monthly returns there continue without interruption, even while adding other installations to your schedule. The original commitment honoured consistently. During your 8th visit to Echo Base, Dev approaches you with request. He wants to learn more than just drinking the cider. He wants to understand the complete process. Source ingredients, evaluate quality, manage logistics, not for professional reasons, for personal interest, because it matters to him beyond mere consumption. You spend afternoon teaching him in detail, the full supply chain, from agricultural sources to final serving. The considerations and trade-offs, the relationships with suppliers, the quality evaluation techniques. He absorbs everything with intense focus, taking detailed notes, asking intelligent questions, clearly genuinely interested rather than merely politely engaged. Why does this matter to you so much? You ask eventually, curious about his unusual dedication to understanding something tangential to his primary role. He considers carefully before answering. Because it represents something, he says quietly. Care, quality, patience. That's what I'm fighting for. Not just defeating them, but preserving this. He gestures to the cup, the possibility of making things well. His answer surprises you with its thoughtfulness. This exhausted young mechanic has been processing deeper meanings while drinking cider, finding philosophical significance in simple beverage. You're honoured that your work serves as symbol for his larger hopes and beliefs. Nara, the Twi'lek pilot, invites you to join training exercise during your 9th visit. Not to participate in flying, just to observe from control room. To understand what pilots experience, what they face, why they value the small comforts you provide. You accept without hesitation. The training exercise is simultaneously boring and terrifying. Hours of routine procedures, then sudden simulated crisis, then more routine, then another crisis. The constant toggling between calm professionalism and intense life-or-death decision-making. The mental strain of maintaining focus through unpredictable variation. You understand better why they drink cider together before missions, creating moment of calm and connection before chaos. After exercise ends, Nara explains more fully. We drink the cider together because it reminds us what we're returning to, what we're trying to preserve. The ability to sit together and share something warm and pleasant without fear, without having to monitor threat displays or calculate firing solutions or prepare for violence, just being people together. That's what we're fighting for. That possibility. Her words echo Dev's sentiment expressed differently. The cider has become symbol beyond itself, representative of the world they're trying to create through their collective effort. The recognition humbles you, makes the exhaustion and challenges feel even more worthwhile. Commander Vela invites you to leadership planning session during your 10th visit, not as participant, as observer and consultant. She wants you to understand how decisions get made at organizational level, how resource allocation happens, how priorities get set among competing needs, the complexity beneath surface simplicity. You sit quietly in corner while commanders and senior staff debate various proposals. Resource requests from multiple departments, all legitimate, all justified, all impossible to fully fund simultaneously. They must choose, prioritize, allocate limited resources among unlimited needs. Every decision helping some people while disappointing others. The burden of leadership made visible. Your cider program gets discussed during session. Some questioning whether morale initiatives justify resource investment when weapons and fuel seem more directly mission critical. Others defending vigorously based on measurable morale improvements and operational benefits. Vela presents data systematically. Retention rates, performance metrics, medical utilization. Everything showing positive trends correlating with comfort services. The program gets approved for continued funding with modest expansion. Not everyone convinced, but majority recognizing value. You leave session understanding better how precious and precarious these programs are, how they depend on continued demonstration of value, how they compete with obviously necessary things. The responsibility you carry to justify the investment through consistent quality. The months accumulate into patterns. Regular visits to Ecobase maintaining primary relationship. Rotations through other installations building network. Each base developing its own character and customs around the service. Some formal, some casual, some elaborate, some simple. But all valuing it. All maintaining it. all protecting it as something worth preserving. You begin recognizing faces across installations, personnel who transferred between bases, carrying knowledge and appreciation with them, creating connections in the network. Someone trained at Echo Base teaching at new installation. Someone who loved the service requesting transfer to base. That has it. The organic spread of culture through human movement and preference. Your ship begins showing accumulated wear from increased travel schedule. More jumps, more dockings, more hours running. You invest heavily in maintenance, upgrading systems that need replacement, preventive work preventing failures. The ship is an essential tool for your work. Must remain reliable for program to continue functioning. During your 14th visit to Echo Base, they surprise you with celebration. Not official, just group of people who wanted to mark your year anniversary of first visit. They've kept track. Remembered, considered it significant enough to acknowledge. The hangar has decorations. The kitchen has special foods. Your kettles are polished and displayed prominently. It's touching and slightly overwhelming. Renner gives speech, short but heartfelt, thanking you for starting something that's become central to base culture. That's improved daily life measurably. That's reminded them constantly that they're worth caring for, that small things matter, that quality matters, that attention and expertise matter. Her voice cracks slightly with emotion. Others nod agreement vigorously. You respond simply, thanking them for trusting you initially, for learning so well, for taking ownership and making it theirs, for maintaining standards, for continuing to care, for proving that investment in comfort and quality produces returns worth more than mere economic calculation can capture, for being community worth serving. The celebration continues in familiar pattern. Music, conversation, shared food and drink. People choosing to be present together, creating meaning through simple acts of gathering and acknowledging each other. This is civilization at its most fundamental. People caring for people, community sustaining itself through attention and effort. The galaxy remains complicated. The war continues without clear resolution. The Empire still oppresses. The rebellion still resists, but in these small pockets, these hidden bases, these communities of resistance, warmth persists, comfort endures, humanity survives, hope remains alive, and you help maintain that through cider and teaching and presence and care, through returning regularly, through keeping promises, through treating people like they matter, because they do matter, every single one. Each person carrying their own story, their own losses, their own hopes, their own value. The work continues, will continue, as long as needed, as long as you're capable, as long as bases exist that need what you provide. The commitment is clear, the purpose is understood, the meaning is established. You've become part of something larger than yourself, part of a network of care and resistance, part of the infrastructure that keeps rebellion functioning. Not the dramatic visible parts, the quiet essential parts, the foundation that supports everything else. And that's enough, that's everything. Small acts accumulating into significant impact, consistent care creating measurable difference, ordinary work performed with extraordinary attention, changing the world one cup at a time. The visits will continue. Monthly returns to Echo Base, regular rotations through other installations, new bases being added as the network grows, each one getting your full attention, your complete effort, your genuine care, each one deserving the best you can provide. Because this is your work now, your calling, your contribution, making sure that even in the midst of war and darkness and constant danger, warmth persists, comfort endures, quality matters, people are valued, the galaxy continues its vast turnings, stars are born and die, civilizations rise and fall, but somewhere, always, someone is brewing cider, someone is being trained, someone is drinking warmth and feeling cared for, someone is being reminded that life includes more than just survival. And that's worth everything. Worth the exhaustion? Worth the travel? Worth the challenges? Worth the commitment? Because people deserve comfort, deserve care, deserve to be reminded regularly that they matter. You too may rest now. The work will be there tomorrow. The kettles will need filling. The bases will need visiting. The people will need serving. But tonight, rest. You've earned it. Through consistent effort and genuine care and attention to quality that never wavers. May your sleep be as deep and peaceful as you've helped others find. May your rest be complete and restorative. May you wake refreshed and ready to continue. May you know that your work matters, that your care makes difference, that your presence is valued. The galaxy continues without you for these hours. Small acts of kindness echo forward into futures we cannot see. Warmth spreads through dark spaces. Hope persists despite everything. Civilization continues through people who refuse to let circumstances destroy their humanity. And you're part of that. Essential part. Quiet part. Necessary part. Part that makes everything else possible through maintaining the foundation of care and comfort and attention that keeps people human. Good night. Rest well. The work continues tomorrow, and you'll be ready. As always, reliable, consistent, present, caring, one cup at a time, one person at a time, one visit at a time, one moment at a time. The work continues, will continue, must continue, and you'll be there, doing it, making it happen, keeping the warmth alive. Good night. The dawn comes quietly to echo base, as it always does. The frozen moon's rotation bringing pale light that filters through defensive shields and reflects off endless ice fields. You wake before your alarm, as habit has trained you. Body knowing the rhythm of work even in sleep. This is your 20th visit. 20 months of consistent service. 20 cycles of arrival and departure. 20 occasions of bringing comfort and maintaining connection. The number feels significant without being definitive. Just another milestone in ongoing commitment that continues forward without predetermined endpoint. Your small quarters have become familiar through repetition. You know exactly where everything is in the darkness before activating lights. Your boots by the door, your coat on its hook, your thermal underlayers folded on the small shelf. The spatial memory developed through countless identical mornings. The commissary kitchen welcomes you with warm, familiar sounds. Renner and Kelvin working already despite the early hour. The kettles heating, the spices measured. The routine established so thoroughly that it operates almost independently. They greet you with comfortable ease born from 20 months of regular interaction. No longer just colleagues. Something closer to friends, though you'd never presume to claim that designation without their explicit confirmation. The cider flows, as it always does. Morning service, afternoon deliveries, evening distributions. The pattern so familiar, it requires minimal conscious attention. Your hands know the motions, your timing knows the rhythms. The work happens almost automatically while your mind processes other things. You find yourself thinking about trajectories, where you've been, where you're going. The person who first landed here 20 months ago, barely recognizable from current version. That person was seeking simple commerce, straightforward transactions, uncomplicated exchanges of goods for credits. This person has found something else entirely. Purpose, community, role that fits and satisfies in ways mere commerce never could. The transformation wasn't dramatic. No single moment of revelation. Just gradual accumulation of small experiences. Each visit adding layers. Each conversation deepening understanding. Each act of service reinforcing purpose. The change happening so gradually that you barely noticed until looking back across accumulated months reveals how far you've travelled. Dev finds you during afternoon rounds. He's been promoted to crew chief recently, added responsibility reflecting his improved performance and consistent reliability. He credits the cider partially, but mostly credits the example. the reminder that quality matters, that attention to detail creates results, that caring about outcomes produces better work. I'm being transferred next month, he tells you without preamble, to another installation. They need experienced mechanics there. I requested the posting. The news brings mixed feelings, pride that he's advancing, sadness that familiar face will leave, curiosity about what prompted the decision. I specifically requested base that has your cider program, he explains before you ask, because I want to be somewhere that values these things, that believes quality and comfort matter, where leadership invests in people's well-being beyond just mission requirements. Your program serves as indicator, shows what kind of place values what kinds of things. His reasoning reveals sophistication you hadn't anticipated, using the cider service as proxy measurement for organizational culture, for values and priorities, for whether a base treats personnel as disposable resources or valuable humans worthy of investment and care. The insight is simultaneously flattering and humbling. I hope it lives up to expectations, you tell him sincerely. It will, because you'll be there monthly, maintaining standards, teaching staff, ensuring quality. That's what makes it work. Not just the recipe, the ongoing attention, the consistent care, the refusal to let it become merely adequate. He's right, of course. The program succeeds because of sustained effort, because of regular returns, because of refusing to accept decline or compromise. Quality requires constant vigilance. Attention cannot waver. Standards must be maintained deliberately and actively. Nara appears later with news of her own. She's been selected for advanced training, command track, leadership development, recognition of her skills and potential. She'll leave in 2 weeks for 6 months of intensive work. I'll miss the cider, she says, with genuine regret. But more than that, I'll miss what it represents, the community it creates, the reminder that we're more than just fighters, that we deserve care and comfort, that small things matter as much as grand gestures. It'll be here when you return, you assure her. I know, that's what makes it valuable, the reliability, the consistency, knowing that some things remain constant even when everything else changes. That's rare in military life, where everything is temporary and contingent and subject to sudden modification. Her words articulate something you've understood implicitly, but never expressed clearly. The value of constancy, of predictable positive experiences, of things that remain stable when everything else shifts unpredictably. The cider provides anchor, psychological stability through reliable routine. That matters more than the beverage itself ever could. Commander Vela requests private meeting during your final evening of this visit. Her office is sparse but functional. No decorations beyond organizational charts and operational maps. Everything purposeful. Nothing merely aesthetic. It reflects her personality accurately. I wanted you to hear this directly from me, she begins without preliminary pleasantries. I've been promoted to regional command. I'll be leaving Echo Base next month to assume new position, overseeing multiple installations. The news is significant. She's been constant presence throughout your time here. Stable element in otherwise rotating personnel. Her departure marks change in base's character and culture. Congratulations, you offer sincerely. You've earned it through consistent, excellent leadership. Thank you, but I'm telling you because it affects you directly. Your contract will now report to regional level rather than individual base. Gives you more resources, more support, more authority to expand program further. We're formalizing your role officially, making you Regional Comfort Services Coordinator with full organizational backing. The title sounds impressive and slightly ridiculous simultaneously, but the substance matters more than the label. More authority means more ability to maintain standards. More resources means less compromise. More support means less uncertainty. I'll need to review terms carefully, you respond professionally. But provisionally, I'm very interested. Good. I'll have full documentation transmitted to your ship. Take time to review. Consult with advisors if you have them. But know that this represents significant organisational commitment to your work, recognition that you've built something valuable worth expanding and protecting. The meeting concludes with a handshake that feels weighted with meaning, partnership, respect, mutual recognition of value. She's trusting you with expanded responsibility. You're accepting that trust and implied expectations. The final evening gathering feels more significant than usual, given the various transitions occurring. Dev leaving, Nara leaving, Commander Vela leaving. The base entering period of change and reorganisation. But the cider remains constant, the kettle still brewing, the warmth still flowing, the comfort still available. People linger longer than usual, savouring the familiar, acknowledging the impending changes, creating memories deliberately to carry forward into uncertain future. You watch them and understand your role more clearly than ever before. You provide continuity, stability, the reliable constant while everything else shifts unpredictably. Renner approaches as the gathering winds down. Whatever titles they give you, whatever responsibilities they add, please keep coming here. Monthly, regularly. We need that. Need you. Not just the cider, the presence, the attention, the care. The reminder that we matter enough for someone to keep showing up consistently. I'll keep coming, you promise without hesitation. That won't change regardless of organisational restructuring or title modifications. This is where it started, where the relationships run deepest, where I belong as much as I belong anywhere. She nods satisfaction, returns to her duties, but the conversation lingers, reinforces understanding of what you actually provide. Not beverages, not even comfort directly, consistency, reliability, proof through action that someone cares enough to keep showing up, to keep maintaining quality, to keep investing effort. That's what actually matters. The rest is just delivery mechanism. You sleep deeply that night, knowing tomorrow brings departure but not ending. Just pause before next arrival. Temporary separation before inevitable return. The pattern continues, will continue, must continue. Morning brings familiar departure rituals, final checks, equipment verification. Goodbyes that aren't really goodbyes because you'll return in 30 days. Just temporary farewells. See you next month. Stay safe, take care. Standard phrases carrying weight of genuine care and concern. Your ship lifts off smoothly, echo base shrinking below until it disappears into camouflage. But you carry it with you, the relationships, the connections, the sense of belonging to something larger, the knowledge that your work matters, that your presence is valued, that your contribution makes measurable difference. The galaxy spreads before you, vast, complex, filled with darkness and danger, but also with light and hope. Small acts of kindness echo forward into futures we cannot see. Warmth persists despite cold. Hope survives despite circumstances. And you're part of that. Essential part. Small part. Necessary part. Part that makes everything else possible through maintaining foundation of care and comfort and attention that keeps people human, even in midst of dehumanizing circumstances. The work continues, will continue, must continue, one cup at a time, one person at a time, one visit at a time, one moment at a time. The galaxy turns, stars burn, time passes, but somewhere, always, warmth persists. Care endures, hope remains, people matter, and you help maintain that. Through simple, consistent service, through refusing to compromise quality, through showing up reliably, through caring genuinely. That's enough. That's everything. Your breath barely moves now. So slow, so gentle. Each exhale longer than the last. Each inhale softer, quieter, fading into stillness. The warmth surrounds you completely now, not just in your body, in the space around you, in the air itself, everywhere, gentle, constant, holding you without weight, supporting you without effort. You've done enough for today, more than enough. Every cup poured, every smile shared, every moment of care given, all complete, all sufficient. You can rest now, knowing nothing was left undone. Nothing remains that cannot wait. Rest is earned, rest is deserved, rest is here. Good night.